What is going on, guys and girls? How are you doing today? It's Anger Roleplay here once again, and today I want to present you the third build of the Blight League that I played, and this is a poisonous ass build, as I call it, which is basically an assassin with all kind of poison around. You know, before I start making a build, I always have kind of a vision of what I want to do. It's kind of a sketch of a project that I have, and then when I start making and playing the actual build, I try to achieve my goal, and this is when the build shapes up. So overall, it all starts with an idea of what I want to do. Well, for this build, I wanted to have an idea of a strong assassin boss killer, as well as potentially a good clearer of maps. So like a general mapping assassin with poison, which also doesn't suck against bosses. For the most part, like what most people do, they just play the new skills like Cobra Lash or Venom Gyre, but for the most part it's Cobra Lash with something else on a 6-link like Cyclone or something. So for the most part, it's about that. What I wanted to do a strong boss killer, and I started looking into thinking about options and what I can have as a boss killer, and then I realized that why not use Blade Flurry. Blade Flurry was there for a while. It's not a new skill or anything, but if I can make Cobra Lash a clearing skill, then I can potentially open up a possibility to use Blade Flurry as a strong boss killer, and I literally killing two rabbits at once. I have this clearing and I have the boss killing. For the most part, what people use is they just use Cobra Lash for everything on a 6-link, but I wanted to do a different way. I wanted to separate Cobra Lash on a 5-link or potentially some pseudo 5 or 6-link and use a full-fledged bossing 6-link Blade Flurry. So that was my goal for this build, and I will show you guys how it works. Before we go further into the video, I would like to stop for a second and thank my Patreon supporters and Twitch subscribers. You guys have no fucking idea how much I'm thankful for you. If you just stop for a second and put likes on this video and share it with your friends, it will be already an insane amount of support, and I will be forever grateful to every one of you. Thank you so much, and remember,
you, yes, you are making a difference.
overall, I can recommend this build, guys, if you want to play something new, if you want to play poison in general, because poison is a pretty cool mechanic. It's like a damage over time ailment, staking from physical and chaos damage, which lasts for 2 seconds. But if you stack the duration of poison, if you can stack enough physical damage, enough chaos damage, it turns up in a pretty fucking decent skill overall. And overall, it's kind of an interesting mechanic in general. First thing you're gonna need to understand is what is poison at all. So poison is a chaos damage over time. It's an ailment that you inflict, and poison lasts only 2 seconds. So in general, stacking big amount of poison is all about how big your poison stack is and how fast you can apply this poison. So there are 2 ways how you can deal big amount of poison. First of all is you need to increase the duration of the poison so you can really stack a lot of them without them expiring. And the second is basically giving poison a big amount of base damage. So originally poison takes 20% of your physical and chaos damage, and this is basically your poison hit. This is how much poison we inflict with every hit. So if you have a big physical damage, a big chaos damage hit, big chaos and physical base damage, so basically the bigger your physical and chaos damage is, the bigger your poison is. At the same time, you need a pretty damn big fast attack speed to stack this poison as fast as possible on the enemies, and this is another reason why I decided to go with the Blade Flurry to help me with single target and bossing damage, because Blade Flurry is a channeling skill, is literally one of the kings of attack speed based channeling skills. So this is probably still one of the best boss killing skills in the game, and since I naturally get a pretty decent chance to poison, I naturally get pretty decent base damage, decent amount of chaos, I decided I'm just gonna go Blade Flurry, and basically this is it. This is where I get my single target. Here we go. Overall, I would qualify this build as an interesting mechanic, interesting build in general. It's definitely not the best clear speed build in the world. There are way more faster builds that can clear anything. This is definitely not the strongest boss killer in the game because it's damage over time based build. There's no like instant crits or anything that can really wipe bosses in under a second. There's no minions there. You do everything on your own. So overall, it's an interesting build with interesting mechanics, and if you've never played Poison and want to try it out and you potentially want to see like what Poison can do and how fast it can clear and what it can deliver at all, I can totally recommend this build if you want to try something new. Another cool thing about the revamped ASSaSSIN and this build in general is that because it's pretty damn actually tough, I was pretty surprised by the toughness of the build. I thought it will be along the squishy classic assassin that is touched by anything, it just dies. But holy shit, the new elusive buff and the life pool is pretty interesting as well. You can go up as high as like 6,000 life with a pretty decent amount of dodge and tankiness, and overall a pretty decent amount of evasion too. So it's a pretty damn tanky build. I even delved pretty nicely. It's about like 250, 300 without any big problems. So I was pretty surprised by how smooth the build is without any struggle, without any pain in the ass. Like all bosses died, deathless, not a problem. Another pro of the build is definitely like insanely cheap. This is probably one of the cheapest builds that I played this league. I killed 4 Uber Elders with a Wasp Nest claw without any problem, which is literally like one alchemy weapon. Absolutely no issues. The gear is extremely cheap. I bought everything straight from the start. Like I bought a 6-link chest for fucking one, I think it was 2 Exiles. I was really bought like the GG chest for the build. Aside of the chest, practically, which I bought 6-link for extremely low money, the biggest expensive thing was actually the amulet, which was 1 Exile for literally a GG amulet. The rest is like non-existent, like I said. All other items, including the gloves, boots, rings, they practically were super cheap. So not even worth mentioning. So it's a pretty fucking cheap build that can do pretty much all content except deep delves. This is where your HP pool and dodge character starts to suck somewhat because you need physical damage reduction, you need other level of toughness for the delves, and so this is where you can really delve really deep with this build because eventually you will just die to a really big one-shot like in the Val Outpost and some Primeval Chambers and shit where really big hits happen. Aside from that, absolutely no issues. Cheap, reliable, strong poison build. Here we go. Let's take a look in passive building. Here we go in the passive building, boys, and I will show you guys what is the deal with the assassin and how we should be scaling it. So we start with the assassin over here and taking just as juicy Fizz and chaos damage nodes over here, then transition into the life, starts gathering this damage over time, skill effect duration, get the sleight of hand. Grab Diatomic early on and then proceed to this juicy claw nodes. This is your number one priority as the assassin. Claw nodes are important. After that, we start gathering poison chance to actually deliver poison stacks and all that shit. You can also use Herald of Agony and the early leveling. It's up to you to decide. I personally didn't use it, but it will come in handy as soon as you level up early on in the game. So piercing shots, I would probably take it early on as well because it really allows you Cobra Lash to hit multiple targets at once. This is pretty neat. After that, just grab the acros and the phase acro and then starts taking once again more accuracy, increase attack speed and global accuracy. You will need a lot of accuracy up to a point where you will level up your precision pretty high because this is, like I said, a crit build. You need accuracy. There's no hits can be evaded in this build. We will be stacking accuracy, achieving almost 100% chance to hit without any Lycosi dice and any hits can be evaded mods. So I wanted to to really keep this build as affordable, as cheap as possible. After that, transition down here and get the Swift Venoms. Damage over time multiplier for poison is incredibly strong once again, and chance to poison hit with attacks is GG. After that, Poisonous Fangs, Claws of the Pride, Toxic Strikes. After that, transition a bit up in the Finest and the Heart of the Oak. This is kind of a last priorities over here. And then just go and grab your Fat Life over here. So pretty much like this. Your priorities is once again, get a Diatomid, get the Fat Claw Notes, get the Acrobatics, get this Juice Fat over there. This is kind of the last thing. This is the first Swift Venoms, Poisonous Fangs, Claws of the Pride, and Toxic Strike. That's about it. And after that, just taking life. That's about it. No fancy stuff. For the Ascendancy, I went with a bit of untrivial way. First is definitely Noxus Strike and Toxic Delivery to start dealing really nice damage over time. For the Merciless Lab, take Mistwalker to get the elusive buff and increase attack and cast speed while elusive. This is pretty important. And the last for the Uber Lab, I specifically opted for the Unstable Infusion. This is my personal choice. Guys, I know that literally every assassin in the game takes the opportunistic for the movement speed, but to be honest, I haven't really noticed any necessity to be so fucking fast. And this thing, which is 20% more damage while there is at most one rare or unique enemy nearby, it doesn't really work that much, to be honest. And except and against Uber Elder, it doesn't work at all because there is always two unique enemies on the screen in the Uber Elder fight, so you don't get this 20% more against Uber Elder. This is it. So practically, Uber Elder is all I care personally, is like a big benchmark for me in the end game. So if I don't get this 20% more damage against Uber Elder, it means it's practically a wasted damage for me. So I decide I'm gonna go into Crit Strike chance and get Unstable Infusion. 1% max power charges and very seamless, very natural, smooth generation of power charges, guys. All the time I am filled with 4 power charges, and 1 power charge is 40% increased critical strike chance, which is really nice. So with this thing, I literally crit all the fucking time. Like I said, it up to you. If you want to be faster, if you want to kill map bosses more than Uber Elders, I would definitely get opportunistic. But if you don't have problems with that, get Unstable Infusion for the just pure DPS. That's about it. Let's go over the actual items really quick, boys. This is the claw that I crafted personally, and this is pretty much a GG claw that you need for this build. I know I experimented a lot with different stats, like poison durations, chaos, flat phase, chaos damage over time. I did a lot of things like crit chance. I tried a billion different combinations until I found out that this is practically that you need for this build. So they're pretty much a GG claw that I crafted for this. This cost 6 Exiles, and this practically just a multi-mod, clear suffixes, 1x for attack speed and 1 for flat fist. That's 4x in total. The rest is non-existent. So if you want to go for the end game claw outside of the Wasp Nest, you gotta invest into this, and it feels like more damage definitely. But I killed 4 Uber Elders, or 5 I believe, with the Wasp Nest, and as you can see, like if you put Wasp Nest here, you see like this even more damage. But this is tricky. This is tricky. Because Wasp Nest is absolutely fantastic weapon. It has flat fist, 250 PDPS, chance, attack speed, accuracy, chance to poison, added cast. It has everything you need for the build. But this thing, it has 60% chance to poisons afflicted with this weapon to do 100% more damage. Literally, this number over here must be pretty much like 60% more of it. Unfortunately, Path of Building cannot do it, but this number will be like way more if this mod should actually be working here in Path of Building. So when I switched to this claw, I instantly felt more damage. So you can play with the Wasp Nest. Like I said, I killed Uber Elder 4 times with the Wasp Nest, no problems. Deathless too, but when I got the claw, when I crafted the claw, I instantly felt like everything became smoother. Everything dies faster, I'm delivering more damage, the bosses die faster, so everything, I can feel like I'm dealing more damage. So this is definitely way to go. For the shield, there's actually a couple of cool options. First of all, any rare shield with something like life and resists. Also, reduced reservation shield, definitely very important. Shaper shield with reduced reservation. If you can get it, that's pretty sick. Vixenaris is pretty much a no-brainer choice for +2 socketed gems, and it can be corrupted for +2 of socketed curse gems or auras. And once again, I did a lot of experiments with what is better, like what is better, curses or auras or whatever the fuck there is. I did different combinations like the auras, corruptions, and the curses corruption. I came to the conclusion that this, which is curses, is practically the best you need. Auras is a little lower, curses is a little better. So just put the curses like the temporal chains and despair in the shield, and you get 25 despair potentially in this. This is pretty damn good. Another actually sick option is the Leaper's Arms, which gives you even more damage, but unfortunately it gives you no utility, which is basically reduced. You cannot be frozen with the Vixenaris, and this is a pretty big thing. Cannot be frozen, guys. Cold Ages as well. Cold Ages is 100% cold damage, basically shield. So this is a good thing as well, and gives you damage. So between the two, I personally selected Vixenaris as better utility. It's up to you to decide. The helmet is basically anything with crafted chaos fossils, minus chaos res, life, and some resistance if you can get it. The helmet enchant is Cobra Lash, increased damage, Blade Flurry, or Cobra Lash chains. It doesn't really matter. I personally opted for the Cobra Lash damage. I believe it is the best for one reason, because Cobra Lash is the weakest kind of damage dealer in this setup, and I wanted to boost it as much as possible. For the body armor, actually a couple of options. First of all, Cherubim's Maleficence, which I use in the build, can increase chaos damage, increase max life, plus max life, and increase life released per second. Absolutely fantastic. The second option is the Lore Whiff, actually not far away, pretty much the same damage, but also gives you great toughness against elemental damage, but unfortunately, guys, elemental damage is wasted since we do not deal elemental damage at all. Another thing is the Eril's Fostering. Once again, chance to poison, increased crit strike chance, added chaos damage against attacks. Fantastic chest in my opinion, but just falls a little behind the cherubims, maybe a little bit. That's pretty close, pretty much the same. But this is like pure evasion chest, which is not as good against cherubims, which is armor evasion. So it's a little harder to get a proper sockets on this chest. Lore Weave, once again, like I said, Dendro Bait is a no-brainer. Pure fucking damage, no toughness, pure damage on this chest. Pretty good for resistance as well, but no life, and the life pool drops like in 5,000, which I'm not a big fan of. Once again, it's a pure ES, evasion ES chest. Pretty hard to get desired things on this one. So I opted with the cherubims for now. Gloves. Now this is where the real magic begins, guys. Embalmer is a little trick that I personally discovered and I've used for this build, because no one uses this setup in the whole PoE trade. You will not find anyone using this for this kind of shit. Embalmer with corruptions +2 projectiles, and this is where we put our Cobra Lash. This is where the magic begins, because it turns Cobra Lash 4-link into a 5-link. And as you can see, the damage here is pretty much kind of 2.5 million. This is enough to pretty much do anything in the game. And this is my clear skill. This is where I did with the Cobra Lash, and this is the trick that I used to make Cobra Lash a clearing skill and not on a 6-link. So pseudo 5-link, guys, with enchants +2 proj gems. This is what you need to get on this. This is mandatory. If you get some other corruption like +1 is also not bad, but +2 to proj gems is what you need to get on this. The bots are nothing spectacular, absolutely, just your absolutely normal movement speed boot with life. And the reason I want these boots is 40 intelligence and need intelligence for the very, very high despair and blasphemy on my shield. I need 100, like 50 intelligence for the very, very high blasphemy and despair. That's why I'm gearing intelligence whenever possible. The amulet is another trick of the build, and this is pretty mandatory. I would say it's in presence with the reduced despair reservation, which allows us to completely reserve blasphemy despair for free. Chaos resistance, max life damage over time, and chaos damage. That's it. The rings are nothing spectacular, pure life resistance rings. One trick that I have on my ring once again is added fire damage for one thing. For Cinder Swallow Urn, when I ignite the enemy with a crit, and I crit all the time, the ignited enemies take 10% increased damage. Once again, this is pretty important. Another ring is absolutely nothing spectacular, just the stat ring. Give me a shit ton of strength and intelligence for the fortifies, for the empower, and everything else. The belt is absolutely nothing. Pure life resistance belt with increased damage, and I crafted the aspect of the spider in this belt manually. This is where you get an aspect of the spider. You can get aspect of the spider in the ring if you wish, for example. The abyssal jewels are actually nothing crazy, just life resistance and chance to gain onslaught. I would recommend one jewel with chance to gain onslaught, so we do not need onslaught flask. It allows for mapping. The normal jewels are basically just the normal jewels with damage over time, global fizz, max life, and damage with poison. That's all we need. I do not recommend using Watch's Eye at all for one reason, guys, because it's extremely expensive and the damage is practically the same, just a little bit higher. I will just show you what it does. So what is Watch's Eye, which is potentially neat, which is basically double precision, right? If I put this, it's like practically the same fucking damage, literally. So, you know, you just don't need it. You just don't need it. It's just expensive. And it's practically the same damage, so why you need to spend 20 exiles for nothing? You use a normal jewel, and that's about it. Now, really quick about the flasks and the bandits. So bandits is definitely kill all. You don't really need anything else. You can take Allura, but to be honest, it's not as good as 2 passive because you can get an extra jewel or extra something, life or whatever. As for the flasks, it's basically the life flask of Iron Skin, just to give me armor. I also get the Sulfur Flask of Acceleration, which gives me attack speed during Flask effect, which is good for the Blade, Flurry, and Cobra Lash. I use the Cirrus Promise to give me some leeches, as well as shit ton of chaos extra damage, as well as Coralitos is mandatory for the Perfect Agony and a shit ton of poison duration, and Cinder Swallow Urn for the 10% more damage taken by the enemies, as well as this cool mod, which is regeneration, which makes me a little more tanky. That's about it. So here we are at the skills, and this is where the fun begins, guys. So this is our Blade Flurry, and as you can see, the damage over here is pretty nice. It's not crazy, but it's definitely cool. I actually got this high level Blade Flurry here, which I got myself. This is Blade Flurry, and this is a channeling skill. You channel it for a bit and then release it at max stages, which is 6. And this is where it pops and deals the most damage, and this is how you do it. The supports are Deadly Ailments, Vile Toxins, Malefice, and Bowel Enemies, and Added Chaos. This is pretty important to have over there. I tried Nightblade support, but to be honest, it's not very good. Just I did the calculations and shit, and just falls behind the rest. Your second most important skill is definitely Cobra Lash, which sits on episode of 5 link in the Embalmer Gloves, which gives us also Vile Toxin support. So Cobra Lash, greater multiple projectiles for the massive amount of projectiles, Deadly Ailments, and on Bowel Ailments. This is what I need to have. On the 4 link and the helm, I have my shield charge with Fortifying Blood Magic, and this is where I have my utility as well, which is Ancestral Protector or Withering Stabs. I will just explain you guys what's the difference between the two. So Withering Stabs give you 6 withered stacks inflicted for the enemies nearby, lasts for 3 seconds, and Ancestral Protector lasts for 10 seconds, actually 12 seconds, and it gives you a shit ton of attack speed. So literally it's a trade-off. either you inflict wither stabs for 3 seconds, or you have a totem which basically gives you a shit ton of attack speed for 12 seconds. This is up to you to decide. The reason why I decided I'm not gonna use Withering Stab is because I don't need it for mapping. It's a hassle to press this shit all the time. It also interacts with the Mistwalker, which gives me elusive when I critically hit, and I do it all the time. So basically, when I press this thing over here, it completely removes the elusive that I got on the Ascendancy and makes its own elusive buff, which kind of contradicts with the fluidness of the ASSaSSIN Ascendancy, in my opinion. So it's up to you to decide what I'm going to use, Withering Stab or Ancestral Protector, or maybe both if you're going to drop something. It's up to you guys. I thought I don't need it, even though the damage is a little better than the Ancestral Protector if you actually manage to inflict it with the stabs, but I decided I don't need this. On another free link is basically our curses, and this is our Vixenary Shield. This is where I have high level precision, high level blasphemy with a high level despair. Two options here, which is actually Temporal Chains and Despair. You can get the presence with the Temporal Chains reservation as well. The reason behind the difference between these two is basically Temporal Chains make you super defensive. The damage is a little lower than Despair, but Despair makes you like super offensive. So if you don't care about the toughness, or you're gonna delve really deep, I definitely recommend Despair absolutely here. This is important to have. This is the weapon. This is custom damage taken Immortal Call with Summon's Cutie Bots. Now, sorry, this is pretty fucking high. Actually, gonna lower it down. This is like that. This is like this, which is not needed. So, yeah. This is what you have over here. This is basically custom damage taken low level for the Immortal Call. The reason why we have Immortal Call is sometimes we get Enduring Charges, actually, because we can steal them with Ascendancy and we get them. So I always see some kind of Enduring Charges on me. That's why Immortal Call is actually pretty useful. Yeah, Cutie Bots, once again, boys, this is pretty important. If you don't know what is Cutie Bots run like two little bots that around enemies, and they run with the chilling and shocking auras, and effectively this is about 19% more damage taken without any penalties. So against Uber Elder and Shape, it always works. They always take 90% more damage, and in comparison you can use Malevolence, and it's pretty much the same damage, but Malevolence reserves 50% mana and Cutie Bots reserve 35% mana. So between 50 and 35, I select 35. So it's an easy choice. It's pretty much the same damage for the less reservation. Here we go. And this is the funniest part, guys. This is our another additional clear speed skill, which is Plug Bearer. This is absolutely insane shit. I first underestimated this, but once I started using this, holy motherfucking shit, guys, this is sick. So what is this? As you enable it and you start gathering poison stacks when you hit with poison. Once you gather your pool of poison, you press the Plug Bearer and it creates this kind of a poison Riders fire around you. And it starts basically spending the poison that it gathered during this. And the maximum plug value is basically here, and it can only be raised with basically Empower and the level of the gem itself. Nothing affects this except the Empower and the area effect. So that's why we're linking with Empower and increase area effect to give you bigger Riders fire with poison and to level up the gem to make the bigger pull of the poison. This is a really unique shit, I would say. I've never seen anything like that, so it's pretty cool. So what I do is usually I enter the area, press Plug Bearer so they can enable this. Then I start hitting monsters with the Cobra Lash. I gather 1,000,000.3k Plug Bearer. Then I press the Plug Bearer and start literally just charging into the packs and just destroying them. This damage is about 130 per second around, and this is pretty comparable to the amount of a pretty decent Essence Drain. So essentially the damage on this thing is like an Essence Drain, and it lasts for quite a while. So overall it's a cool mechanic. You Cobra Lashing, you Plug Bearer, you Blade Flurry, this 3 combined skills in one build, which is absolutely amazing in my opinion. And the last thing here is Blood Rage, just to give you more attack speed for the Blade Flurry, for the Cobra Lash. Always pop this shit once you enter the area and you're good to go. Here is actually the Wither Stack simulation that I got over there. In case you'll be using the Withering Stabs, you will be inflicting 6 withered stacks on the enemies. If you want to experiment, you can see like how much damage you do. I know how much I do, so I don't need to see over there. This is comparable damage to the Ancestral Protect in my opinion, but it's there if you want to play with this. Aspect of the Spider once again, and Cold Aegis for the Vixel Nurse. That's about it. So here we go with the build, guys and boys and girls. I really hope you liked this and enjoyed it. If you want to play something cool, something unique, and you want to try ASSaSSIN in a pretty weird way, I can definitely recommend the build. I really enjoyed it. I killed about 10 Uber Elders with this build without any dramatic problems. Deathless multiple times, so no big issue at all. The damage is there, the clear speed is fantastic. There's also an absolutely sick skill, which is Plug Bearer, which gives you like a Poison Rider's file, like I said. It's absolutely crazy. The build is very active. You need to press a lot of things like watch Blood Rage, watch Plug Bearer, watch all these things. So it's not your lazy build. There's a lot of action there. If you want to, if you really like action, guys, I can recommend this shit to play. Overall, it was a lot of fun creating this. A shit ton of fun playing this. I am fully happy with the build. I crafted everything I wanted. I killed everything I wanted for this build. So I really hope you like playing this too. Thanks for watching and see you soon.